At exactly 2:17 every morning, Samuel woke up to problems that had not happened. Some nights, he imagined losing his shop. Other nights, he imagined disappointing his mother. Sometimes, he replayed conversations from several weeks earlier, searching for words he should have used and expressions he should have noticed. And when there was nothing from the past to worry about, his mind traveled into the future and invented something new. What if his customers stopped coming? What if the landlord increased the rent? What if the rain destroyed the wood outside his workshop? What if his younger brother never found a job? What if his mother became seriously ill? Samuel did not have answers to any of these questions. But every night he asked them again. His body would lie quietly on the bed while his mind ran through the village, opening doors that had not been built and fighting battles that had not begun. By morning, he was already exhausted, and the day had not even started. Samuel was a carpenter. His workshop stood at the edge of the market, beside a narrow road that became muddy whenever it rained. He was good with his hands. He could take a rough piece of wood and turn it into a chair that looked simple, but lasted for years. People often praised his work, but Samuel rarely heard the praise properly. Whenever a customer complimented him, his mind immediately found something else to worry about. Was the chair strong enough? Would the wood crack later? Did the customer truly like it, or was he simply being polite? One Monday morning, a woman named Mrs. Adesina entered his workshop. She was the headmistress of a small school nearby. "We are preparing a reading corner for the children," she said. "I need 6 chairs before Friday afternoon. Can you make them?"
Samuel looked at the drawing she placed on the table. The chairs were not complicated. He had made similar ones before. It was a good order, and he needed the money. "Yes," he said, "I can do it." Mrs. Adesina gave him a small deposit and left. For the first time in several weeks, Samuel felt excited. He arranged the wood carefully, sharpened his tools, and began measuring the first chair. But after a few minutes, his mind interrupted him. What if the chairs were too so for the children? He measured the wood again. Then another thought appeared. What if the headmistress changed her mind about the design? He studied the drawing for several minutes. What if one of the chairs broke during school hours? He selected another piece of wood.
What if the school refused to pay the remaining money? He stopped working and began calculating how much he would lose. By the end of Monday, Samuel had cut only 4 pieces of wood. On Tuesday morning, he promised himself that he would work faster. But the more he tried to concentrate, the more his mind produced new questions. He sanded the same chair leg again and again, until it became thinner than it should have been. He threw it aside and started another one. Then he noticed dark clouds in the distance. What if rain entered through the small opening in the roof? He abandoned the chair and spent almost an hour moving pieces of wood from one side of the workshop to the other. The rain never came. By Wednesday afternoon, Samuel had not completed a single chair. That was when an elderly man entered the workshop carrying a broken wooden stool. His name was Baba Kareem. He lived on the other side of the village and repaired old farming tools for a living. Samuel knew him, but they had never spoken for more than a few minutes. "Can you repair this?" Baba Kareem asked. Samuel examined the stool. "Yes, the leg's loose. It will not take long." Baba Kareem looked around the workshop. Pieces of wood were scattered across the floor. Measurements were written on several sheets of paper. Tools had been moved from one table to another. In the middle of everything stood the unfinished frame of a small chair. Baba Kareem pointed at it.
"How many chairs are you making?" "6, Samuel replied. "How many have you finished?" Samuel looked away. "None yet, but I am working on it." Baba Kareem nodded slowly. Then he asked, "How many problems have you solved since Monday?" Samuel frowned. "What do you mean? You have the face of a man who has been solving problems all week." Samuel gave a tired laugh. "I have many things on my mind." Baba Kareem did not offer advice. He simply placed the broken stool beside the door and said, "I will return tomorrow." The next morning, Baba Kareem came back before Samuel had started working. In his hand was a small empty sack. He placed it on the floor. "I want you to try something today," he said. Samuel looked at the sack. "What is it for?" Every time your mind gives you a problem that you cannot solve immediately, pick up a stone from outside and place it inside this sack. Samuel stared at him. A stone? Yes. And what will that achieve? Nothing perhaps, Baba Kareem said calmly. But you have already spent several days achieving nothing. One more experiment will not destroy your life. Samuel wanted to argue, but he was too tired, so he agreed. He placed the empty sack beside his workbench and began working. A few minutes later, the first thought appeared. What if Mrs. Adesina came early and saw that the chairs were not ready? Samuel sighed, walked outside, picked up a stone and dropped it into the sack. Then he returned to his work. What if the landlord increased the rent next month? Another stone. What if his younger brother continued searching for work for another year? Another stone. What if people in the village began to say that Samuel was becoming unreliable? Another stone. What if his mother's cough became worse? Another stone. What if the wood cracked? Another stone. By midday the sack was heavy. Samuel became irritated. Each time he moved around the workshop, the sack dragged against his leg. By evening it was so heavy that he had to lift it with both hands. Baba Kareem returned just before sunset. Did your mind remain quiet today? He asked. Samuel wiped the sweat from his forehead. No, it became even more annoying, and the sack, it is too heavy. Baba Kareem nodded. Good, bring it outside. Samuel followed him reluctantly. The old man emptied the stones onto the muddy road in front of the workshop. Then he picked up the first one. What did this stone represent? Samuel hesitated. I was worried that the rain might damage the wood. Baba Kareem asked, can you do something about that before sunset? Samuel looked at the opening in the roof. Yes, I can cover the wood properly and repair the small gap. Baba Kareem placed the stone on his right. He picked up another one. And this, I was worried that Mrs. Adesina might change her mind about the design. Can you control her mind? No.
The old man placed that stone on his left. He picked up the next one. I was worried that I may not finish the chairs on time, Samuel said quietly. Can you do something about that? Yes. I can stop checking the same measurements repeatedly and finish the first chair. The stone went to the right. They continued until every stone belonged to one of two piles. The pile on the right was smaller. It contained worries that could become actions. Repair the roof, protect the wood, call the headmistress. Complete one chair before moving to the next. Ask a neighbour to help with the sanding. The pile on the left was much larger. It contained things Samuel could not control, the weather, other people's opinions, a customer's private thoughts, the mistakes he made last year, the problems that might appear next month, the decisions other people might make tomorrow. Samuel stared at both piles. Baba Kareem pointed at the stones on the right. A worry you can act on is not a burden, he said. It is a task. Then he pointed at the larger pile. But a worry you cannot act on is only a stone. The longer you carry it, the more tired you become. Samuel said nothing. Baba Kareem picked up one of the useful stones and placed it in the muddy road. Then he added another one. Slowly, he began to create a small path leading into the workshop. Samuel understood. He joined him. Together, they used the stones from the smaller pile to make a simple walkway across the mud. When they finished, Baba Kareem looked at Samuel and said, "Use the stones that can become steps. Put the rest down."
That night, Samuel repaired the opening in the roof. Then he called Mrs. Adesina. He told her the truth. The chairs would not be ready by Friday afternoon. There was a long silence on the phone. "I wish you had told me earlier," she said. "I have already found someone else. The children need the chairs for Monday." Samuel felt the disappointment settle heavily in his chest. He had lost the order. For a moment, his mind began to race again. What if everyone heard about it? But Samuel stopped suffering tomorrow's problems before tomorrow arrived. Whenever his mind began running too far ahead of his life, he looked at the stones outside his workshop and asked, "Is this a step, or is this a stone?" If it was a step, he acted. If it was a stone, he put it down. And slowly his days became lighter, not because life had become easier, but because he was no longer carrying everything at once. Perhaps you are carrying something tonight, a conversation you cannot change, a decision that belongs to someone else, a problem that has not happened, a fear you have examined 100 times without finding a new answer. Ask yourself one honest question. Can I do something meaningful about this today? If the answer is yes, choose the smallest possible step and take it. Make the call. Write the first page. Apologize. Ask for help. Finish the task in front of you. But if the answer is no, put it down. You do not have to carry tomorrow before it arrives. You do not have to solve everything tonight. Some worries are steps. Some worries are stones. Wisdom is learning the difference. And peace begins when you finally place the stones back on the ground. If this story spoke to you, share one small step you are taking today in the comments. And subscribe for more simple stories that help you live with a clearer mind and a lighter heart.